Guys, welcome back. Your host, Mitchell from Notorious Radio 718. And we have an amazing co-host today, Nazim the Black Wolf Sadykhov, 6-1, newly signed UFC lightweight.
7-1.
7-1.
Six finishes.
6 finishes. Beautiful. So we want to congratulate Nazim once again for his beautiful finish, third round on Dana White's Contender Series. And today we are breaking down UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi. October 22nd, Saturday night. Main event will be at 2 p.m. Naz, congratulations on your Dana White Contender Series knockout KO. That fight was absolutely amazing. That knockout, I think it ripped like 1 million views. It was like one of the sickest things. We had a beautiful viewing party for you.
Wow, Black Wolf really bringing his game today, baby.
What you said earlier.
Yes! Yes!
Fuck him up!
Lights out! Let's go! Brooklyn, baby! Let's go! Lights out! You say that? Let's go! Lights out! Lights out!
Nice.
Breaks his fucking head! No fucking curse!
Let's go, baby.
Дай Бог тебе! Вот он получил! That's what Dana White wants to see.
Listen, how's it feel?
Oh.
Gotta go off like that.
Let's go! Let's go!
Fucking.
Let's go! Beautiful!
Hook.
Big cold! Oh my God! ESPN highlight! Let's go, Nas!
Good night.
One!
Good night.
Boom! Oh my God! Gorgeous! And he finished them. Yeah! Yeah, baby! Michael Bisping, you like that? Lorisenko, you like that? Beautiful,
Look at him, he's
beautiful.
unscathed.
Baku, that's your boy!
Yeah.
That's your boy, Baku!
Tell me how that night was for you. I saw in the crowd, you had your father, your friends. It was a magical night. You thanked everybody.
Oh, I can't. I'm still riding on the high, bro. We're 2 months post-fight. I literally still feel like I'm dreaming because it's a dream come true. You know, like you put in all the work all these years. You step into the cage with hopes and dreams, and you step out like into a different world. I literally stepped in one man, and I literally stepped out a different person. I got a beautiful welcome from my country and from my countrymen in Azerbaijan. People in Brooklyn recognizing me, like people stopping me to take photos on the streets and all this stuff. And what I'm saying is, like, it's a dream come true. It's just the beginning too. That's the thing. It's one of the dreams that I have. One dream was to get in.
It was all a dream.
Now we're pursuing the next. And holy shit, man, I'm still dreaming. And once this injury heals up, I'm still dealing with a little injury. We'll see what happens. I should be back to hard sparring and all that stuff soon. So as soon as I am, I'll be making that UFC debut.
Tell me about the UFC debut. Do usually the matchmakers just send you who they want you to fight? Or sometimes do you have someone in mind that you might want to fight, like someone that also came out of the Contender Series, or somebody who's maybe on a 1 or 2 fight win streak in the UFC, or somebody who's on a 2-fight loss? Do you have any autonomy in choosing an opponent, or it's mostly like UFC is very strict, like these are the guys that we're offering you, take it or leave it?
That's kind of how it is, though. You don't really. It's not really like in the beginning, especially. You kind of have to pave your way. Like I'm still in the process of growing. I understand that it's going to take a few fights for me to establish myself. But I personally, I'm confident in myself that I'll establish myself quick, just because of my style, and I'm confident in what I say. So I think people will recognize where I'm going to be and who I am in the division fairly quickly. But with that being said, my actual debut has yet to be announced, and it's yet to come. So it's going to take a few fights to establish myself. So they'll probably go, throw a few names my way, which I'm going to accept gladly. I'm just happy to be in the organization. So whoever they give me, I'll be happy with. I'm just hoping for a good matchup. I just want to keep exciting, that matchup on Contender. That was the perfect matchup for me to be able to show an exciting fight. And I'm not talking about brawls. I'm not talking about it has to be a striker wrestler. I don't have a preference. I'm just saying like the matchup has to be, it has to fall in line with who I am as a fighter, so it can make for an exciting fight.
No, I completely agree, and I feel like the UFC does a really good job on matchmaking. I think that's what makes the organization so special from the other ones. Whereas I feel like some like in boxing, they sometimes they pick their fighters. They choose who they want to fight. They build their guys carefully. Versus the UFC, they want to see what you can do. So they'll maybe give you a striker your first time. Then they're like, let's give him a wrestler.
Yeah, that is kind of what they do.
And
That
they
is
want
kind
to
of what
see
they do.
let's see how he does on the feet. We'll give him a pure striker. All right, good, does well, gets the W. Let's throw in this guy. He's a fantastic wrestler. He's been on a 2-fight win streak. Or sometimes I see what they do is they give guys who are on their last leg of their contract, like a make or break fight, just to see hey, it's your last chance, bringing you in, like what they did with with Body Bags Pfeiffer. They gave a guy who was on a 3-fight losing streak. They're saying hey, this was a nice Contender Series, knockout. He was on a week where everyone did bad, and Dana White went bugged out. I don't remember if he made a speech saying be like Pfeiffer. You want to get into UFC? Be like Joe.
Yeah.
So then his first fight, he essentially gave him a fighter who was on a 3-fight losing streak.
Yeah.
Came from Bellator, was a solid veteran. I was kind of watching his highlights, and I thought to myself, this is good. Even though he's on a 3-fight losing streak, he gets to that's the make or break him. That brings a different hunger out of the fighter because he knows that hey, this might be my last chance to be in this organization. I got to make it happen.
That's true. I mean, they do have these. They do make these kind of matchups. That the thing is, they just you establish yourself. You know what I mean? Nobody took Joe Piper by the hand and said, "Hey, here's all this shit." You establish yourself. I just hope for good matchups so they can be exciting more than anything. I'm not really even asking for some favorable matchups or anything like that. I just want exciting matchups that are going to bring out the best in me, bring out excitement, bonuses. I want a bunch of those bonuses. Like what I did on Contender, that's 100 grand in the UFC.
No
That would have been
doubt.
100 grand. That's a fight of the night.
Fight of the
Everything.
night.
That's Dana coming up to you in the back, giving you a high five and all that shit.
I
So
completely agree.
that's what I'm saying. Just more of these kind of matchups so I can get my bonuses.
I know, like you said, you trust the UFC to give you a fight, but if there's anyone in the top 100 lightweights, is there anyone who we would want in particular? Just doesn't matter if it happens later, happens right away. Anyone in particular, any name that you would be interested?
Since we have UFC 280 coming up on Saturday, if I had to choose between those two guys, I would like to fight Charles Oliveira because I think that would be an exciting matchup. For the longest time, I always said Holloway because Holloway, big puncher, not big puncher, but
But he's
lot
a
of punches.
Featherweight. Would you go down to
Featherweight, but
featherweight?
he fought at lightweight. It's just it would just be a matchup that I think would be very exciting. That's what I'm trying to say. Because I push, I'm cardio oriented.
Yeah.
I have 3 finishes in the 3rd round. Holloway's cardio oriented, just a bunch of punches flying.
He's
Just
one
a
of the
bunch of
hardest guys
fists
to
being thrown.
finish.
Yeah, just a
Holloway.
bunch of fists being thrown. So, yeah, I don't really have anything in mind. I just want to conquer the division sooner or later. So that's it, man. Everybody says it doesn't matter who I'll fight anybody, but at the moment I don't have any preference. I just want to get my debut going, and then everything will unfold. And you'll hear me calling people out for sure.
Good. And I can't wait for your debut.
Fucking go, man.
I can't wait for you to have a speedy recovery.
Thank you, brother.
Heal up, get stronger, stay in the gym, stay hungry. We know you are. And Notorious Radio is always with you. We're here to
Thank you,
support
brothers.
you through
Thank you,
thick and
guys.
thin. And we can't wait to have you back.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
love you as a guest and
Great
a
to be here.
co-host. And guys, remember, Nazim Sadykhov, 7-1, the Black Wolf from Azerbaijan. This whole country's behind them. He also has South Brooklyn behind them. Strong Island's behind them. Nothing's going to stop him. A lot more coming from him. And with the first breakdown we're going to go into the championship fight against Charles Oliveira and against Islam Makhachev. The only thing is, they're both fighting for the belt because Charles Oliveira, his last fight, missed weight by half a pound. So his belt was technically stripped, and the only person who could have won the belt at the time was Justin Gaethje. But now he's facing a very fierce top contender in Islam Makhachev. And in my opinion, this is the fight that the UFC fans, that I and everybody in the world has been waiting for. Nazim, tell me your thoughts about a little bit about this fight.
The main event, yeah, we're going straight to Charles and Islam.
Yep.
You see, I was just like everybody else for the longest time. I was like 50-50 on it, leading up until fight week. Like roughly about 3-4 days ago, I made up my mind that Islam, I just feel like he's gonna make it happen. Father's plan. Habib when Habib became champ, now Islam. I think stylistically, Charles is a nightmare for anybody. But I think Islam, because because he controls distance so well and he's so controlling on the ground, I think he's not gonna rush. He's gonna take his time, and he's not gonna make the mistakes that Charles might expect him to make. With that being said, Charles is still dangerous everywhere the fight goes. I just think he is gonna get taken down and he is gonna get controlled. But he's gonna throw up submissions off his back. He's not gonna let Islam just just hold him for 5 rounds for that belt. So expect to see exciting moments, exciting scrambles from Charles. But ultimately, I think Islam gets it done by decision.
Let me counteract that opinion. So Charles Oliveira, 33-8. The odds makers have him at a plus 155 underdog. He's on an 11-fight win streak. He's beat Justin Gaethje by rear naked choke. He beat Dustin Poirier by rear naked choke. He's beat Michael Chandler by TKO. He beat Tony Ferguson. He beat Kevin Lee. In my opinion, his resume is much more stacked than Islam's. Islam's last 3 fights was against Bobby Green. He fought Dan Hooker, and he fought Thiago Moises. And a lot of people forget that his second fight in the UFC, he had a loss to Adriano Martins by TKO in 2015. But nonetheless, we have Islam, who's on a 10-fight win streak currently. So we have 2 lightweight champion and contender.
Two streaking contenders. Two streaking fighters. Yeah.
Fighters.
One guy's on an 11-fight win streak. The other guy's on
a
10.
10-fight win streak. And my only concern is that Islam has really never fought anybody in the top 5. He was supposed to get a breakout fight against Dariush. Dariush had to pull out. I mean, obviously not Islam's fault. And I know a lot of people have been dodging Islam. A lot of people don't see that he's too much risk to take that fight and kind of like lose their slot, in the rankings. Because in a sense, he is that dangerous. A lot of people say that his overall game is better than Khabib's.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said is true. Without a doubt, Charles has a more impressive resume than Islam. Without a doubt, everything you said is true. He's fought way more impressive contenders. His wins are even more impressive. In my opinion, I'm not like crazy on Islam's style. Like what he does is impressive, but I'm not crazy. Like if I had to choose who's gonna be an exciting champion, it's Charles hands down. So everything you just said is absolutely true, and I thought this through. I just think Islam gets it done just by controlling the fight anywhere it goes, whether it's on the feet or it's on the ground. I just feel like him controlling that perfectionist style that they have there, not really making any mistakes. Even though Habib's been threatening with guillotine chokes, I think Islam also like almost he didn't almost get choked out, but guys threw up submissions against him before.
These guys don't tap though. These Dagestani guys, they don't never tap.
Yeah, I'm saying I just think he just gets it done. I just think it's his time right now. I just think he's just gonna get it done. I would say like it's a matter of who shows up on that night, but I don't see either one of these guys not showing up. I don't think it's possible for Charles Oliveira to not show up. I just think his mind is on fire right now. It's in the right place. I think that's his biggest weapon as of late, Charles Oliveira, because he's always been good, but recently his mind, whatever he did to change the last few years, he's been a different man, a whole new man.
He's been on a terror. Do you think fighting in Abu Dhabi gives Islam a bigger advantage, or you feel like that home court advantage might hurt him? That pressure of being in, technically he's kind of in his own backyard, because if this, say, championship fight was in Brazil, then are the odds against Islam now? You get what I'm saying? Like,
Wait, these are very normal things to consider. I just think these two guys, I think they're just so strong up here. I think they're so solid in the mind. It doesn't matter where either one of them fights. That's why Charles said he called for this fight to be in Abu Dhabi, if I'm not mistaken, right? He's the one that was like, I'll fight you in Abu Dhabi. He accepted the fight to be in Abu Dhabi. And everybody was surprised, like, dude, you're the champion defending. Even though that's technically not the case because he got stripped because of the weight thing, he's still the champion. In everybody's eyes, he's still the champion. He's still the A-side per se. So I just think that both him and Islam are strong enough to not give a shit where this fight takes place. You could put them in a jail cell, they're gonna duke it out, and they're gonna fight to the death. They're gonna fight to the end.
did you hear about that rumor that they were saying that Charles Oliveira was not going to even show up to Abu Dhabi, and then possibly Volkanovski was going to have to step up?
I did hear that, but it's like,
Just smoke.
yeah, dude. I mean, that's the same thing. Like you have to take into the consideration that he's fighting in Abu Dhabi. That's his home court advantage, a Muslim country. It's close to Dagestan. A lot of people are going to be traveling to support Makhachev a lot more than Brazilians. So I understand that, but I just think where Charles is in his life and career, I don't think it matters to him. And when I say that I'm predicting Islam to win, it does not mean that I would not like to see Charles as champion. Let's just get that straight. Let's just get that straight now, because I had a blast watching him. Fight his last few fights. And if I had a dream matchup myself, it would be against Charles, not against Islam.
Wow.
Yeah, because I know that fight with Islam would consist of a bunch of takedown defense and just trying to get him off me, and him playing the range game and all this stuff, like not as much exchanges as I would like. The same exchanges that I'm gonna get with Charles. With Charles, I'm gonna get those exchanges.
You feel like Charles would trade with you more?
It's not about trading though, you know what I mean? I'm not like a brawler myself. I'm a smart fighter myself, but it's not. I just feel like Charles and I would light the roof on fire. Of course, I got to get my fights in. I got to get my experience. But I'm saying that fight happening down the line, if I had to choose between either one of these guys, it would definitely be Charles. It would be a way more fun fight.
That's nice. That's good to hear. But overall, you're riding with Islam that night.
That's my prediction. Islam
That's your
by
prediction.
decision. Yeah.
Islam. All right, that's fair. I'm rocking with Islam also, because I do believe a lot of things about legacy, and I do believe that Khabib left the sport because his brother, Islam, is going to take over the game. And I do believe that his resume is not the same caliber as Charles Oliveira, is because the fighters don't believe they can actually take him.
Yeah, Charles has never fought anybody like Islam, regardless. Regardless, just stylistically, he's never fought anybody like Islam, regardless. Just the record alone, they have that perfectionist thing in that camp. They have that perfectionist thing, and everything that they've done leading up to this fight with Islam and Charles, like in their camps, their plans, father plan, all that stuff that they talk about with Khabib winning, defending 2 or 3 times. I think they even predicted that years before he retired. Defending 2 or 3 times, leaving the sport, letting Islam come in, take over. They've been talking about that for years. So October 22nd is the day for them to manifest the next chapter of their journey. I think they're going to make it happen. I think they're too powerful of a force at the moment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I really can't wait for this main event. But we cannot forget Our co-main event is another championship fight. So let's introduce these two killers.
Boy,
We have Long Island's own Sarah Longo fight team, Aljamain Funkmaster Sterling, who's the current champion. He's a minus 170 favorite, 21-3. He's on a 7-fight win streak. His last 2 wins were against Peter Yan. He beat Corey Sandhagen by rear naked choke. He had a win over Pedro Munhoz, and he had a win over Jimmy Rivera. He's been on an absolute tear. He showed actually no flaws in his game, and he's going against a former cheat, TJ Dillashaw, which is ranked number 2, 18-4, and he's a plus 145 underdog. He got caught with some EPO, took some time off, had a comeback fight win against Corey Sandhagen, but before that he got TKO'd by Cejudo, and he had 2 really nice wins against Cody Garbrandt. Tell me what you believe about this matchup, and how do you see this one going?
I got Aljo by submission, and I think TJ obviously has skills. I do think that a big part of his he works hard, he has skills, but I think the type of steroids that he was taking, I think that's like night and day. Because his comeback fight with Corey Sandhagen, I mean, I guess you can say he injured himself early in the fight with the knee. He tore his ACL or something like that, or whatever you want to say. He did not look like the TJ of old. And I think with age and with time, I don't think it gets any better. Meanwhile, you have my boy who's in his prime. I just think it's his weight class. I think it's his division right now. It's his time, and it's gonna be his time until Merab comes through and takes the division. I think they have their own little Habib Islam plan.
Wow.
Yeah, unfolding in the bantamweight division. So final prediction: Aljo, third round choke. I don't know. I still haven't. I didn't really get to see his camp, the type of stuff he's been working on or whatever, but I think we might see him take his back, which he's world class at, and he might take that back and rear naked choke in the third.
Another question. I know he's fought Peter Yan twice. Do you believe that it deserves a trilogy fight between them two if he comes out on top against TJ Dillashaw?
I don't see if Peter Yan is impressive against Sean O'Malley, and whether the UFC decides to give Yan another fight after that or not, or they're going to just give him straight to the title. I think if Aljo wins his fight and Peter Yan is impressive on Saturday, I don't see why not. I like that division is stacked. I would like to see them move on, but if the UFC makes that fight again, I don't think everybody's going to be like slamming the table mad or whatever. I think they might want to see that. A lot of people argued that Yan won that rematch also. I didn't see that. I thought Aljo clearly won, but I did hear a lot of opinions, like a lot of people that I talked to, they thought Yan won, or they thought it was
It was a close fight.
Yeah, it was a close fight or whatever. So I don't know.
So you think it might warrant another go around?
I guess there's enough talent. I would like to see the division move on, but listen, Yan is still world class. He's still up there. He's still in there. He's still in the mix. So I don't see why. I wouldn't see it as a shock if there was a third fight.
Do you think possibly they give Merab to Yan?
That's very possible too. I'm sure Merab wants that himself. Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that after they saw how high level of grappling that Sterling is, that any good grappler, good wrestler could essentially take Yan down and nullify his striking, boxing, kickboxing weapons.
It's easier to say that. This is not a game of cards. It's not like wrestling. Oh, your wrestling is level 3 and mine is level 4. That means I'm better. Like, this shit has to come together. When you're in there, it's a whole different ball game than just saying, oh, I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so I'm better than you because you're a blue belt, and then this and that. Like, before Aljo did take him down and take his back, he had like 50 attempts in both fights combined. He had 50 takedown attempts. It's not easy to take the guy down. If it was easy, everybody would do it. you know.
Agree.
So anybody that has a game plan to take Jan down, I mean, go ahead, go try, you know,
Good
go do
luck,
it,
right?
you know, yeah, because my boy whose whole game is wrestling grappling, he's wrestling and grappling heavy. It was hard for him to do. He did it, but it was hard for him to do. So if people think that they unlock something, bro, with those top 5, top 10, it's easier said than done.
Done.
Trust me, those guys are all world class. They're all good everywhere.
Dillashaw, do you think this is just like a tune-up fight for him? Because he had versus Sandhagen, and then he got automatically the title shot. Do you think they rushed him into this? Or you think they
Yeah, I
gave him
do.
this
I do.
fight because he just has a good following? Do you think he deserves this fight against the champ?
Honestly, with the UFC, sometimes you like, I don't know what they have their own plans mapped out. I really don't know. Like, I don't think so. I think TJ, not only did he have too close of a fight, like that wasn't a clear victory in my eyes. I remember watching that fight and thinking that Sandhagen pulled that, had the edge in that fight. So for TJ to get a title shot, I mean, like, bro, you got busted for EPO. You know, like, you got busted for the juice. Like, it's not. I feel like you got to work your way back at least a few fights. You know, it's a 2-year layoff. A few fights would be nice to see him maybe versus maybe Peter Yan or Sean O'Malley or whatever. Just a few more of the talent. Because since he gave up that belt and left, a lot of new talent emerged. So I would like to have seen him fight the new talent first. Because, you know, let's say, which is physically impossible, but let's say he's crowned champ Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Then what? You just have a guy of old, and then all the new guys all the new guys that leaped ahead of him, now they have to line up to fight him and prove themselves as champion versus a guy that got busted for. I just take that stuff very seriously. That EPO, like, you got busted for some serious
He was
shit. You know,
doping.
get in the back of the line, work your way back up. That's how I see it.
So you're saying he got some Dana White privilege?
I guess.
I'm
I
saying.
guess so. Yeah.
Kind of like
Dana White privilege.
he's like the Michael Chandler of the bantamweight division.
I
Just
guess,
jumped
bro.
right into the mix, gets on one of the hottest cards.
The thing is, I want to see Chandler fight, and I want to hear him on the mic. Now, I like TJ's mixed martial arts skills. Don't get me wrong, but that's not a guy that I'm like crazy about. I can't wait for this press conference. I can't wait for this. That's not that guy to me. So maybe that's just my opinion. Maybe I just don't have the most positive opinion.
And that's fine. He's a snake. He got caught for doping. That's the only opinion you could have on him. But if he didn't get caught for doping, would your opinion be different?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes the difference.
That was a game changer for you.
Yeah. I think that's a game changer for everybody. Like, forever, for the rest of his career, his legacy will be tarnished by his drug tests, because he was reigning supreme, had these insane performances. Like, he had the performances he put on against Barral, performances he put on against Garbrandt. And it just makes what Garbrandt said true. You know, he was like, when they were talking shit to each other, he was accusing them of like juicing and stuff. And it's like, yo, you knew, like, this guy was juicing the whole time. It's not like he just got caught for one fight, or this was like a once in a while thing that he does. He's been juicing. How long? Nobody knows. But he also had that, like, out of nowhere turnaround in his career. Like, he did a full 180. He was a guy that was like winning, losing since the Ultimate Fighter, and then boom, out of nowhere, he's like putting on performances that are like out of this world. And post juice, post steroids, he hasn't looked the same to me in that Corey Sandhagen fight.
All right. We're going to be rocking with Aljamain Sterling for the co-main event.
Bro, it's New York. You better be rocking with Aljamain Sterling, baby.
I don't believe that Dillashaw has enough to take Aljo.
I think he has great skills, but I just think it's Aljo's time. I think he's sharper. I think Dillashaw is good in a lot of areas, but I think Aljo does certain things that make him special in the division.
All right. And I can't wait for this co-main event. Let's move on to the next fight. And as we were just talking about, we have Peter Yan, a.k.a. No Mercy, who's a heavy favorite at a -305. He is ranked the #1 contender in the bantamweight division. He's 16-3, and he's going against to me, in my opinion, the Rainbow Poodle, Sean Sugar Show O'Malley, who obviously has a nice aura persona behind him. He's at a plus 255. His last fight against Pedro Munoz was a no contest with a shitty eye poke. But otherwise, he's been facing very, very weak competition. And I feel like Dana White's been tossing this kid a bunch of bonuses.
If you don't know,
and now he puts him in with a real killer. Like, he's been fighting bums this whole time.
Damn, bro. Damn.
I'm just being honest. He fought Cheeto.
Fighting bums.
He had one good fight against Cheeto
Yo,
Vera.
I hope Sean O'Malley's opponents never ever see this shit, but they're gonna cry when they hear this podcast.
I mean, the only reason that I say it is because, like,
I know what you're saying. Everybody's saying the same shit, including fucking Joe Rogan, Daniel Cormier. Everybody says the same shit. We all know it.
I consider Sean O'Malley he's a top 10, top 15 bantamweight. And they're giving him these, like, really unranked guys.
Notorious Radio gives you the raw truth.
Yeah.
No beating around the bush.
I don't want to beat around the bush. And I want to give him all the credit, but I have to judge him based on the people he fought. He fought Cheeto Vera, which I think is a dog. And that is not an easy fight for anybody. Anybody who gets into the ring with Cheeto Vera is getting 100% violence. This dude does not play, and he's there to hurt you, win or lose. And he's been on the winning end on his last few fights. And obviously you could see when he fought a guy like Cheeto Vera, Dana White realized that, hey, that might have been a little bit dangerous for our guy, and he broke his leg, gave him a few little tune-up fights, but now he's throwing him in with a great white shark. I don't know if the UFC has chosen Sean O'Malley to boost up Peter's Yan name because Sugar Sean is just so popular. I mean, like, everybody knows him.
I don't think it. I wouldn't say it's that. I was kind of surprised by the matchup too, but the thing is, like, Sean O'Malley, stylistically, is actually a more dangerous fight than people think. The fight is much closer than people think, stylistically. So, is Peter Yan going to win? I think so. I think my final prediction is either late TKO or decision. But here's one thing that I wouldn't want to happen, but that might happen. If Peter Yan starts kind of slow, how he's done in the past, he hasn't done that in his, like, last 2 fights, I think. But there's been times where he started slow, and he's had his opponents pull away with, like, a round and a half. Like, you would watch some of his fights, and it's like he's clearly losing up until, not badly losing, but he's just not as active. He's taking shots because he has that tight guard style, and he's coming forward or whatever. And then before you know it, like, you're watching the fight, and a round and a half is, Peter's down a round and a half, and then suddenly he drops him and takes the round that way, and then takes over from there. So what if he doesn't drop O'Malley? What if O'Malley pulls away with an early lead, uses his range, uses his footwork, which is all very possible. That's why I say this matchup is much closer than people think. Stylistically, this actually isn't like Peter Yan's, like, dream like, matchup where he's just, for a fact he's going to come in there and finish him. But at the end of the day, he's still former champ for a reason. And I think Sean O'Malley, yes, he has beaten unranked guys impressively, but both of his tough challenges, which was Cheeto Vera and Pedro Munoz, he did not look impressive. The Pedro Munoz fight, like, he did not look impressive at all to me. Like, did you even? Do you remember that fight? I don't even think I gave him that round.
They were doing a little bit of exchanges. They were keeping distance, and then it was like it ended in the first round with an eye poke.
Was it first or second round?
First, second. It was just short. It was a really disappointing fight.
No, I think the first round ended, but I don't remember even giving that round to O'Malley. I gotta go back and rewatch that, but that first round wasn't even O'Malley's round. My point is, he has not looked impressive against like, ranked competition. So it's like, if you just do the math, he hasn't looked impressive against ranked competition. He's only looked impressive against unranked, and then out of nowhere he's getting a guy that just lost his belt. And that people were like saying just a year ago that this is going to be like a guy that's champion for like 5 years. So it's a nightmare. Like the odds are what they are. There's like, would you say they were plus?
So Jan is a minus 305 favorite, and we have O'Malley at a plus 255 underdog.
That's big. Those are big
Those are
odds.
huge
Yeah,
odds.
so that's what I'm saying. So they're
You're saying
those
they
odds
should-
for that reason. But if you just think of the matchup itself, you have two boxing heavy guys. Peter Yan is a little bit more versatile, but I think O'Malley's jiu-jitsu and wrestling is not to be slept on. Because he hasn't used it as much because his footwork and his range has got him the job done every single time. So my point is, this is probably going to end up being a boxing fight. And if you think about it, you have a long-rangey boxer who's going to be on his feet versus a slow starter, shorter, stockier boxer. So can Jan catch him? Can Jan do the right things? Can he chop him down? He can do it all. You know, he can do all those things. But can O'Malley outbox him and get away with a huge early lead? And Peter Yan not be able to turn up in time to win, to steal the fight or drop him or KO him? Yes. So if my point is, if Sean O'Malley wins this fight, this will not be as shocking to me as the odds say it should be.
My only concern is like when you say he's long and lanky and he's gonna box him, my biggest concern is his body is gonna be open. And I believe, and when I watched your fight in the Contender series, and a lot of people said your opponent was really tall, but that didn't worry me too much because I knew that with a high guard, that whole core was wide open. And I believe that Jan is going to expose that. And he's going to rip his body.
Can we agree that this whole card is crazy?
Of course.
Like Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley is a headliner of a fight night any day of the week. TJ Dillashaw and Sterling is its own pay-per-view. And they're the co-main event. You know, this card is crazy. This card is nuts. I'm really excited for all these fights. My boy's gonna defend his belt. I can't do parlays anymore, bro.
I know.
You seen the rule that came out yesterday?
I know. That's another thing I wanted to bring
I
up.
got an email and everything. No, I can't place bets, bro.
I hear you.
They think I got insider information. I do though, bro. When you watch Aljamain's training camps, you're like, yo, you know what the fuck is gonna happen.
Oh, yeah.
He won me a lot of money last year. He won me a lot of money on the rematch because I watched his camp. I'm like, Aljo's ready. He's taking this fight.
Yeah, that new rule, that's crazy, but I feel like this has kind of been around for a long time, like in a gray
other
area.
sports.
In others, it's just like a gray area, and I think that UFC kind of just put it into like wording, you know, and made it a little bit more concrete. They kind of took this little gray, it's kind of like everyone knows, like you shouldn't be inside betting, you know, like whether it's basketball, if you're a referee, you know what I'm saying? It's like Herb Dean making bets on the fights, you know, like it's a gray area and it shouldn't be allowed. Like people who want to bet on the sport, I understand. Like me, I can make a bet if I want. You know, I don't have any obliged contract to the UFC, but most likely sometimes my bets lose.
What the hell,
know?
man? I want to make little cash, you know? Like, what if I wanted to bet or bet on myself? I think that's the thing they want to get rid of the most. Like the fighters betting on themselves. I would bet a fucking $1 million on myself, bro.
But let's go on to the
champion.
next fight. And the next fight, like you said, this whole card is stacked. And I do believe this next fight that I'm about to introduce is easily a main event in the Apex. And that's Beneil Dariush versus Matuiz Gamrot. So Dariush, 21-4, 7-fight win streak. And he's actually the underdog at plus 165, which is really surprising, versus the Polish fighter who's on a 4-fight win streak and he's the favorite at a minus 195.
I think I know what it is. Why the odds are like that.
So the one thing about Dariush, like we spoke about, he was actually supposed to be in line to fight Islam. Some reason happened. He had an injury, took some time off, recovered, but he's obviously back in the mix. He's a very crafty submission specialist. But the guy he's going against, what really impressed me is I actually wrote this guy off. His last fight, he went against Arman Sarukian. And I am really big on this kid. Because the first fight that I saw Arman fight in was in Moscow against Islam. And he went 15 minutes with Makhachev. Your opening fight in the UFC and you get a fight like that? And he couldn't finish it. Like, you know, Islam couldn't finish this kid. This kid is a beast. And for him to get the knock in a decision was a little bit tough, which I thought that Armin, but you know how the judges is. It's like you never want to leave it to the judges because it's like it always leaves that little bit of doubt.
Bro, listen, everybody says that as if these fighters choose to fight to decisions, but bro, it's not that. It's like I said, bro, it's easier said than done. Like, are you talking about the Islam fight?
I'm talking about Gamrot's last fight against Sarukian.
Yeah, bro, but at that level, it's hard to, like, if there is no finish, like, it's hard to finish each other, bro. Like, Gamrot is a tough dude, you know? You gotta give it up to him. He's a tough dude. This fight in particular, I think he's the favorite because of the momentum. Because he's riding a momentum, like you said, a 7-fight win streak, is it?
No, Dariush is on a 7-fight win streak, and
so
Gamrot's
Dariush.
on a 4-fight win streak. So they're both kind of like riding a little bit of momentum. You know, the matchmakers.
Regardless, Dariush was kind of he kind of faded in and out, big gaps in between his fights. I think people just saw the fight with Armin, and they're impressed by that. So I think that's why he's the favorite. Stylistically, you know what I think? My prediction: Beneil takes this because of the boxing. Now you're like, what are you talking about? He's a grappler. He's a wrestler. Gamrot is a great wrestler. He will take Dariush down. Dariush is a really good grappler. He will not let Gamrot keep him down. He has the ability to get up. So no matter how many times Matuz takes him down, but Dariush will get up and the fight will have to take place on the feet. The fight will have to unfold on the feet. Where I think Dariush is going to have the upper hand. I saw like some good moments from Gamrot on the feet, but overall, like I think his game is wrestling. He's wrestling heavy. I think he's good at that. But I think Dariush has the jiu-jitsu to keep him off him, to get up when he gets taken down, and be able to outbox him, outstrike him on the feet. That's how I see the fight unfolding.
What I love about
I don't know if that's surprising or not, but that's how I see it.
I understand.
This is why they don't let us fighters bet, because we see shit that people don't see.
What I was going to say is I understand that Dariush has a fantastic striking background. First of all, he's in King's MMA. He's training with Rafael Cordero. Cordero was training Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing for a former professional boxer to go to find an MMA gym for striking. And he's training with Giga Chikadze, who's one of the sickest kickboxers in the featherweight division.
I forgot about that too. That's a big factor that people are gonna overlook for sure.
His sparring partners are insane.
Yeah. Actually,
I look about the whole camp.
Yeah.
You know, like this camp. He's coming from a crazy camp. He has tons of UFC guys, and they're in Vegas, close to the PI. Tons of other gyms that they can cross train with. I mean,
it's a good point.
I factor a lot of things in like that. This guy's training every day with Giga.
And is Gamrot over in Florida?
Yeah, I think Gamrot is training, if I'm not mistaken, either with, I think it's Sanford, which is
I've seen him in Killcliff for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's there all the time or he just did one camp there. I don't know what it was. I don't remember. Henry Hoof's a great guy, great coach, by the way. I went over there for sparring. He's a really good camp. They do things very well.
And they also have a huge roster of UFC guys and other professional
their
fighters.
floor is pretty crazy. Their floor. Florida's a hotbed. Florida's definitely.
I wanted to ask you just on a personal question. When you go into a gym and there's tons and tons of professional fighters, do you feel like that can be a benefit, or do you feel like the camps are a little bit better when they're a little bit more private? I just kind of wanted to ask from a fighter's perspective, is it better to walk into like American Top Team and have this shitload of resources in front of you where you can train, or is it better to have a little bit of a private camp, like how you... Like, I feel like where you train is a little bit more private. It's a little more secluded versus like these giant camps that have like 100 professional people on their roster versus a gym that has maybe like 10 to 15.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you go into a gym and there's 150 pro fighters, you're not training with all 150 anyway. You know, you're still going to end up naturally breaking into your own little tribe. Even though if everybody's cool, you can be on the same page with everybody, the same team, all that stuff. But everybody, like if you have a huge team, everybody ends up breaking into their tribes anyway, which is where I train, that's what we have anyway. We don't have the largest team in the world, but we have a lot of guys and they're all good and we all train with each other. So like I never have a shortage of training partners, but we also don't have this thing where it's like we have 15 different teams within a 150 fighter team.
Yeah.
So I think that top team without undeniably is one of the top camps in the world, right? They wouldn't have the results. They wouldn't have the results that they do, the champions that they've had, you know, without being a good team. But me personally, I do prefer the smaller, not too small, not like a shortage of fighters, a shortage of, like, for example, my last camp, I was slated to do most of my sparring with Justin Montalvo, Bellator 5-0 Bellator kid. I was meant to do more of my camp with him, lanky boxer, good jiu-jitsu, which is kind of how my opponent was. But he got injured. Like literally, our second sparring way in the beginning of camp, he gets injured. He tears his bicep. But that didn't stop me from having a whole nother 4 or 5 guys to spar with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like at the same time, we're all boys. You don't have it where it's like you have 15 different groups.
Tribes, little
Yeah,
cliques.
yeah. Like from what I see from the side, it's like you got the American top team, you got the Brazilians kind of training with each other, and like the Dagestanis are doing their own thing, and maybe they all train together too at times, but I just don't see how 150 people can all call themselves family. I really doubt it. You know what I mean?
So they just use the services and they have the facility.
Yeah, and then you got the ego thing. Like if you look at Colby and Masvidal,
Masvidal.
then you have these little things come up, and this guy's like first they're best friends, now they're talking shit, and
And they fight each other.
these guys don't recognize him. They don't fuck with Colby, and these guys are the Cubans. Like this little tribery. I prefer the smaller gyms. I am a fan of cross training though, like traveling all over the world and training. I've went to Thailand before, loved it. Trained in Vegas, trained in Florida, trained in Hoofs. Really liked Hoofs. Hoofs is a great coach, has great fighters, great energy in that gym too. So, like cross training is great, but I think your home team where you do the biggest portion of your camp have like a solid foundation, but not too much, not too big.
Nice and private.
Yeah, and then the coaches, I guess, get to focus on you more that way. And
That's
too.
really my thing, is like when you have such a large camp, how do you devote that attention?
Yeah, how can you give all your, like a coach is a full-time job, just like a fighter is. How can a coach devote all of his time to 150 guys? He can't.
Can't.
He can have 3, 4, 5 other coaches, but even with that in itself creates tribes. It's like, okay, you have the head coach, but then you have like 5 other coaches, but I'm the coach with the 5th guy than I am with the 4th person and the 3rd guy, so I kind of break off and do everything with the 4th and 5th guy. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like these tribes and stuff. I definitely think if you have like 10, 15, 20 guys, like look at Habib's camp, right? Those are the same 4, 5, 6 guys, even though they're surrounded with like more guys. They have like 15, 20 guys, but those guys, Islam and Usman and Habib and all those guys, they've been training with each other since they were kids. So that in itself should tell you something. The smaller camps where you guys are just grinding together, enough sparring partners, not too over the top, not too much, I think that's always gonna bring better results.
Now, another question that you brought up. Do you think that Islam and Khabib and that whole camp, if they never made it to San Jose to train in AKA, do you think they would be where they're at if they didn't meet the likes of Luke Rockhold, Daniel Cormier, and Cain Velasquez?
It's hard to say, brother. Like it's hard to say.
But you see what I'm saying? Because like
I do,
they
because
came to the American system, they met some of like different training styles and got to incorporate some like real style like kickboxing.
no,
Pure.
I think a big portion of their success is having went over there. Because I actually know guys like I don't know if you ever heard of Islam Makhachev. This is a guy that I was training with back in the day, maybe like 6, 7 years ago. He was like my first steps in MMA when I left sambo and kickboxing and all that stuff and decided to become a professional MMA fighter. He was my first and main training partner. He taught me how to wrestle. He taught me everything, or wrestle. He was a high level wrestler. So this guy, no joke, no cap, could have been one, without a doubt in my mind, could have been top 5, maybe even champion in the UFC had he been in the right places at the right time with the right camp. So I just think him alone, he was a beast. But I think if he was surrounded by more of the right people or went to the right place where it's more isolated and he can focus on himself, he would have went way further than he did.
All right. All
He
right.
got caught up in this Brooklyn mess and all this stuff. Ended
But
up
he
getting
doesn't fight currently.
No, he does, but he's overseas in ACA now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's overseas in ACA. I don't know what contract he has with them. I don't know how many fights, but he's not coming back to the UFC. I doubt it, man. He's not coming back to the UFC. And with all due respect, he's not the same as he once was either. He's not getting any younger. He's like 34 now or something like that. You know, he's not any younger.
He's on towards the end of the career.
Yeah, I mean he's holding strong still. He's getting wins, but it's not the same as if he would have been in the UFC. He would have been champ by now, you know.
I still want to highlight one of the opening fight on the main event, and we have the #1 contender in Katlyn Chookagian at a +155 underdog, and she's going against Manon Fiorot, the #6, and she's a -180 favorite. She's 4-0 in the UFC. She's on a 9-fight win streak, and Katlyn's on a 4-fight win streak. Tell me, why do the odds makers have Marion as such a favorite? The only thing that I
Manon.
Oh, Manon, I'm sorry.
It's Fiorot.
Fiorot, Manon, the #6 versus Katlyn. The way I understand, Katlyn has fought everybody. Even though she's lost to Valentina Shevchenko, she came back and whooped her sister's ass.
Yeah,
You know, she had to run that one back.
Yeah.
You know, she kind of like running through her division, and I see her as a very complete fighter. She has a very solid stand-up, and she has a fantastic ground game. She's trained with Mark Henry.
She's with us, dude.
She's Sarah Longo team.
She travels. Like I think she went there, here, there, but she literally still comes to Sarah's.
For jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. But not only that, she's came to law too. She's had her own little program. I never seen her like stick. She's not a Sarah Longo fighter, but she's came to us a lot.
So she's coming.
Yeah, I'm rocking with her for this fight for sure.
But can you tell me why the odds makers have Manon as the favorite? The only thing I could understand is she's on a pretty much like a 9-fight win streak. She's 4-0 in the UFC, and her previous leagues that she's fought for was the UAE. And I've been kind of following some of their fights, and they're serious. That's a serious MMA promotion. A lot of good fighters come from the UAE.
Yeah.
Her fighting in Abu Dhabi kind of gives me a feeling that this girl's in her own backyard. She was fighting in the Middle East
You're right.
the whole time.
These are little important things that I'm not even picking up on, and you're actually giving, and that's huge also. Even though I think Katlyn will do just fine because she's a veteran, she's
Professional.
crafty. She's been around the block for a minute now, so I don't think that's gonna bother Katlyn too much. However, I think Manon is the favorite because of how her highlight reel looks. Because honestly, I did not see any full fight, but I did see her highlights, and she looks aggressive. She looks like a puncher, like she punches hard. Looks tough in the mind, you know, just to come forward like that. However, Katlyn is also a tough chick, so this is gonna be a scrappy fight. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not gonna Katlyn, but like I said, the momentum thing is real. Like why Matsus is the favorite against Beneil is kind of the same reason why Manon is the favorite against Katlyn. Like Katlyn has been around for a while, but she's never touched the belt. She's never like, I don't want to say went far because that'd be disrespecting her success, but she hasn't
Face the level of
yeah,
competition.
she hasn't like who Valentina Shevchenko is, who Amanda Nunes is, who Juliana Pena became. Like they became standouts. She hasn't stood out as much. Now her career isn't over. She still has a bunch of time to do so. But leading up to this fight, she hasn't stood out in the fans' eyes as much, which is as opposed to Fiorot, who is streaking. She's on a streak and she's looked uber aggressive in all her fights. So it's like, I think it's just a momentum thing. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a scrappy fight. It's going to be a nice fight with these ladies.
And it's a nice opening fight for the main card.
Yeah.
I really like when the UFC gives the ladies, you know, their slot. let some shine, let some
Yeah,
let them get to
Some
work.
of these chicks are crazy, dude. I used to like say, you know, whatever, this, that. Now I can't say the same. In 2022, some of these chicks are absolutely insane.
They're violent.
That chick, the former champ, Zhang
Zhang
Weili.
Weili.
Did you see that last fight?
Yeah, the spinning back fist.
Was it against
Joanna
Keisha? No, Jacek. Yes, Jacek retired after that.
Yes.
Bro, these chicks are crazy. That was insane. That fight was crazy. Shevchenko is awesome. Amanda Nunes is awesome. Pena is amazing. So like, I can't say these chicks these chicks deserve the spot. These chicks deserve these spots. So let's see.
Another fight, and this to me is absolutely insane, is how you have Bilal Muhammad and Sean Brady on the prelims. Like that's
Fight in the
how
night.
stacked this card is.
Bilal Muhammad is coming. You know what's funny? He's coming off of headlining Fight Night, and here he is on the prelims, which is insane. That's crazy.
A lot of people are really hype on Sean Brady. They really, really like his ground game. He is crafty and he is a beast. He's an undefeated fighter, but I believe that for Bilal Muhammad, it just shows that he's willing to risk his spot against a guy like Brady when technically Bilal Muhammad can arguably fight for the title. I think he's done a lot in the division and he's a beast. His wrestling, his striking, and his fight IQ is like really up there. Like I believe and I know Khabib is coaching Bilal Muhammad right now
That's big too, I think.
for this fight.
I don't think it's gonna do that much because he hasn't, been with him for years. It's been for a camp. I think he's seeing certain things that are opening his eyes and giving him a boost in his confidence. I don't think it's gonna make a crazy difference, but I think Sean O'Brady takes this because of the stylistic matchup. I think Bilal Muhammad, I've actually called the Vincente's fight. I think what Bilal Muhammad does, what he's doing to the last few guys, I think he's been able to do that because he's had such an upper hand in the wrestling and the pressure and the grappling. Now, you have a guy that's going to match your wrestling and grappling and Sean Brady, but also can crack. Sean Brady has heavy hands. So this is almost similar in a way to Dariush and Gamrot in the sense that when you have two good grapplers, they usually keep each other on the feet. And it's going to be the better boxer slash striker slash heavier puncher. And Sean Brady can crack. So I think that's going to be the difference in this fight. I don't think Bilal Muhammad is going to be able to tie his game on Sean Brady the way he has on Vincente. Because Luque's whole game was get away from him, keep it on the feet, and Muay Thai the shit out of him. It's not going to happen with Sean Brady. Sean Brady's going to match your grappling, match your wrestling, and he has heavy hands, and I think he gets it done.
I really like Sean Brady also, and I agree with everything you're saying. And he's fighting out of, I think, Philly. He's a Philly guy. And his whole camp is like really on a tear. Like all those guys that are coming out of his gym, they've been really on the up and coming. And I think he's with Daniel Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And he's a black belt. And I know he
Shout out to John. He's invited me down there a bunch of times. I gotta make a trip down to Philly.
Definitely.
I think it'd be great to train with those guys.
Yeah. They have a killer roster that trains with them, and like you said, they're like family over there because it's a small group, not a lot of people.
It's like one of those. It's like our camp. It's like they're making their noise, but they don't have too much guys. Those two coaches are able to give their attention and focus on all their guys. You know what I mean? So that's what I was talking about. That's another perfect example. Our team, Daniel Gracie, these East Coast teams are more of what I feel like a camp should be, as opposed to like in Florida they have
more like mom and pop vibes versus like a factory.
Versus exactly. Yeah.
It's more mom and pop, homegrown style.
I mean, like in Hoof's gym, like those guys are all cool with him though. So I can't say I don't know how things are. I've never been a part of a team that had 300 fighters.
Yeah.
So, but this works, and that's why I favor that.
That small. It's more of that connection with the coach that you can. He has time for you.
Yeah, great. John, he's really cool with his guys. You saw how Piper.
Yes,
You
yeah.
saw how he was talking to him in the thing, and I know John personally. He's a good dude. So they got a good thing going. I think it's gonna continue on Saturday night with Sean Brady.
You're rocking with Brady that night.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't think Khabib can give enough advice in that corner to help Bilal? You think
I don't
Brady's
think he's gonna be in his corner. I don't know if he's gonna be in
They
his.
said
Is
he's
he?
gonna be in his corner.
Oh,
I
is
think.
he? Is
Yeah.
he? That's cool, bro. All that's cool, but you know, Habib does not
But like
win
you said,
fights
that
for
doesn't
you know?
actually help you in the ring.
It does, but like like I said, just stylistically, I just like Bilal Muhammad is not better on the feet than Sean Brady. Um, Bilal Muhammad is gonna try to do to Sean Brady what he did to Vincente and to other guys. It works on those other guys. Brady is not the same. He's not the same guy. He's gonna match the grappling. He's gonna be able to keep Bilal off him, and he's gonna feed Bilal some shots. That's what I think is gonna happen. That's why I'm predicting Sean Brady. It's specifically the heavy hands of Sean Brady.
All right, another question. Sean Brady gets through Bilal. Do you believe he has enough what it takes to become a welterweight champion?
Well, who would he fight after?
He can fight a guy like Colby
Can he?
Covington.
Can he? I mean, his record is perfect. Like
He's undefeated.
what is he? 14-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't show anything. He didn't show anybody any reason why he can't.
I'm just
You know what I
asking.
mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
didn't show
believe he can take a guy like Colby next? You know, get another big jump.
I mean, Saturday night will tell us a lot. Like if he gets past Bilal, who's on a tear, who's been looking really good, who's also a top contender, if he gets past him, I think that's a statement. I mean, that's essentially that's how the sport unfolds, right? You keep going up and up and up, and then somewhere at the top, oh, they think, oh, this is going to be a kryptonite, this and that. You get to that guy, now you're ready for the next level, and the next level, and the next level.
Just a test.
Yeah, so this is just his next level. So Sean Brady, he's fought who he's fought. Now he's running into Bilal Muhammad. He gets past him. He's ready for that next level. He's ready for that top 10, top 5. Is Bilal Muhammad top
It's top 5.
Oh, top 5. There you go. He's already there.
This is a huge step up.
Top 5 and both. There you go. Of course he could be champion. Yeah, if that's the case, he could be champion. Yeah.
Guys, you heard it here. We have Nazim Sadykhov saying Sean Brady could be the next welterweight champion if he gets past Bilal Muhammad. Remember, this fight is on Saturday, October 22nd, at the Etihad Arena in Yas Island. And remember, if you like this content, to always like, follow, and subscribe us on all social media platforms. And if you really want to support us, remember, we have merch at notoriouspools.com. Check us out. And Nas, thank you for being a wonderful
Thank you, brother.
co-host.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
We'll see you soon, guys.